going to open the service with a song called Joy by Tori Harper. Tears try to drown you out when you're walking through the fire, when the voices drag you down, but you can't fight it 'cause you're tired. I can feel it rising inside my soul. I surrender it all, let you take control, 'cause your joy is greater than 1,000 sorrows, and your love will conquer all of my tomorrows. It fills my heart, the sound of your song, and now I'm dancing all day long. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I love to feel your joy. Oh, I love to feel your joy. Oh, when you think there's no way out, it will find you in the deep. It is comfort, it is peace, and you're never gonna hear a more beautiful sound. I can feel it rising inside my soul. I surrender it all, let you take control, 'cause your joy is greater than 1,000 sorrows, and your love will conquer all of my tomorrows. It fills my heart, the sound of your joy, and you're dancing all day long. And ooh, 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 I love to feel your joy. Whoa, I love to feel your joy. It's always there, I feel it now. It fills me up, I pour it down. It's always there, I feel it now. It lifts me up, I pour it out. It's always there, I feel it now. It fills me up, I pour it out. It's always there, I feel it now. It fills me up, I pour it down. Your joy is better than 1,000 sorrows. Your love will conquer all of my tomorrows. Your joy is greater than 1,000 sorrows. Your joy will conquer all of my tomorrows. All of my tomorrows. All of my tomorrows. Your joy will conquer all of my tomorrows. It will conquer my tomorrows.
Thank you, everybody. World Beat Band. World Beat Band. Yeah. Woo. Hi. 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 So I know a lot of you, and I'm so grateful to be back. Hi. And if I don't know you yet, my name is Lauren Fortuna, and yay! I know, I'm glad to be Lauren Fortuna. And I'm part of the celebration committee, so I'm going to be seeing you guys more. So if you don't know you, come introduce me yourself. I would love to get to know you. So it is the third Sunday of Advent, and we're going to light the Advent candles. So why? Why do we light these candles? I'll tell you why I light these candles. I light these candles because in times of trial, or if it's just the season of the year, when we feel the light dwindling, when we feel the darkness encroaching on us, what are we called to do? We're called to light candles. And the darker it gets, the more candles we need to light. So we light these candles in hope. We light these candles in anticipation that love will come, that the light will return, that in the darkest of times, in the darkest of hours, in the weirdest of places, love shows up. So I've invited my daughters, Genevieve and Louisa, to come and light the candles with me today. We're going to use the Advent blessing that we use at our house, which focuses a little bit more on creation, which for me is a good reminder that not only do we have these hopes, but creation holds these hopes and perhaps knows more deeply than we do the light will return. Reggie, this is Genevieve, and this is Louisa.
The first light of Advent is the light of stones, light of crystals, seashells, and in our bones. Now all the stones upon the earth are waiting for the Christ child's birth.
The second light of Advent is the light of light, and that reaches into the sky and in the breezes wind. Now all the plants upon the earth are waiting for the Christ child's birth.
Third light of Advent is the light of beasts, the light that shines in the biggest and also in the least. Now all the beasts upon the earth are waiting for the Christ child's birth. Amen. Thank you, guys. So, and the tradition that we're celebrating, the third light of Advent, is not the light of beasts, it is the light of joy. Joy, 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 yay, joy, 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 joy. Why do we not just feel joy all the time? Joy. Well. So for those of you all who don't know, have not heard through the very beautiful grapevine that is Jubilee, my dad, Don Fortuna, had a stroke about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, and gratefully it was a minor stroke, and the doctors are anticipating with time that there will be a full recovery. So yay. And for those of you all who've been praying for him, I really appreciate it. Those prayers have been felt and appreciated. Yeah. So I think that all of you all who've had something like this in your family happen, well, you know. And for those of you who haven't, well, you can imagine. When you love someone, as our family does, love my dad so deeply, it cuts both ways. And at moments like this, these past few weeks have been full of, all the big ones that are so awesome to hang out with, like fear and uncertainty and sadness and frustration with medical bureaucracy and helplessness, powerlessness, all those really great feelings. And I don't know how you all handle these things, but for me, when these things go down, I pull out my little emotional bomb shelter, and I like wiggle my way in, and I like pull the top on, right, like screw it down, because like I can't handle any more bad, and the good might break me open, so I'm just gonna stay in here for a while. The problem with this awesome strategy is that I also have a family. I have a husband and 2 daughters who I adore and will do anything for. And it's the holidays. And all of this with my dad sort of started going down on Thanksgiving. And so Thanksgiving was just trashed, ruined. And my daughters were really looking forward to Thanksgiving, and it just didn't happen. And it didn't happen in a really unfun way. So the Saturday after Thanksgiving, my daughter Louisa, who loves Christmas, both girls love Christmas, but Louisa is a particularly big fan of the Christmas decorations. She says she likes them almost as much as the presents. We'll see. So come Saturday, she said, Mom, let's decorate for Christmas. And me and my bomb shelter was like, no, thank you, not right now. But she insisted and said, Mom, let's decorate for Christmas. So I'm like, okay, we can do it. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can go through the motions for my child. Okay, here we go. So off we go to get the Christmas tree, up the boxes come from the basement, on the Christmas carols go. And we're doing it. And I'm like, going through the motions. And then I feel it. I feel a little knock on top of my bomb shelter door that says, hello, do you want to come out? I'm like, no, thank you. I'm just going through the motions. And the little knock says, okay, it's cool, but you know there's like ornaments up here. And she must like have like opened up enough crack and like waved a little Christmas tree branch in there so I could smell a little bit of the greenery, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll come out. And when I came out, do you know what I found? Joy. For that afternoon, it was just joy. It was beautiful memories and fun decorations and laughter and music that I love. And it was joy. I just had to be willing to come out and find it. And did it change anything of the rest of what was going on? No, not a whit. But it lifted my feet up. It lifted my feet up enough that I feel like I'm able to make the journey. So that's joy. Let's stand up and sing some Star of Wonder. Calling the directions. Yeah, you can stand up. Keep on standing. We're going to turn and face the east. Yeah. Come. Come, Spirit of the East. Come to us. Keep our eyes open. Keep our eyes peeled for joy. Keep our eyes peeled for that tiny little spark, that little ember, just an ember. Help us know that if we blow on it and tend it, it might just turn into joy. Now we turn and face the south. Oh, Spirit of the South. This is where that joy hangs out. Joy to the world. All of it. So when it shows up for us, God, Help us to savor it. Help us to drink it in. Help us to say, yes, this is precious, and drink in every bit because it is a gift. It is a gift. It is a gift. It must be savored. Now a quarter turn and we face the west. Oh, west. The letting go part. Because the other piece of joy is that it's a moment. It doesn't last forever. As much as we might wish we could, you can't hold on to it. It's a moment that you got to take, and then you got to let it transform into whatever it wants to be next, because that is the way. That is the way. Letting joy and the good go and letting it transform, and it's called to what's next and needed in this world. A quarter turn, we face the north. Come, spirits of the north. Cold winds. Oh, you're the hard one. There doesn't seem to be much joy here. Seems like there's only cold wisdom. But help us to know, spirits of the north. Help us to trust. Like seeds under the ground. Help us to know that the joy is here. That you are with us. That you are with us. In the darkest of times. In the scariest of times. You are here. Remind us, Spirit of the North. Now we turn and look across the circle. Well, there's a little joy. Hi, you guys. There's some joy. And you know, sometimes you got the joy to share, and you got the gift. Whew. Share it. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just can't pull it together. And in those moments, take it. It's how it works. It's a flow. It's a flow between all of us. It's how the world lives. It's like breath. And it's here for us, flowing. We reach up to the sky. And we reach down to the earth. Oh, yeah. All right. And now, let's sing some Island Tunesman while we feed the hungry.
Come from the glory. He comes from the glorious kingdom. The angels sang when the baby was born. The angels sang when the baby was born. The angels sang when the baby was born. And they say that his name is Jesus. He comes from the glory. He comes from the glorious kingdom. He comes from the glory. He comes from the glorious kingdom. Oh, yes, believer. Oh, yes, believer. He comes from the glory. He comes from the glorious kingdom. The shepherds came when the baby was born. The shepherds came when the baby was born. The shepherds came when the baby was born. And they say that his name is Jesus. He comes from the glory. He comes from the glorious kingdom. He comes from the glory. He comes from the glorious kingdom. Oh, yes, believer. Oh, yes, believer. He comes from the glory. He comes from the glorious kingdom. He comes from the glory. He comes from the glorious kingdom.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Have a seat. We got Susie with some gifts, but I want to, before she does that, I want to say, because I was supposed to say earlier, and I forgot, just a reminder that the Jubilee Board is working really hard to pay attention to everybody's thoughts with this whole pesky COVID thing and how to keep our community safe and help people feel as comfortable as possible. And currently, the situation is we're doing masks up, covering our noses and mouths, and we appreciate you guys being on board. We all got to be on the same team. So thank y'all. I appreciate it.
Okay, we got Jubilee in action. This is how you can get involved in what's going on at Jubilee, and it takes literally a village, and you all are part of the village. Okay, so as far as sponsoring the kids, the Giving Tree, that ends today. I want to thank everybody, all the generous jubilants that are buying presents for the kids. Be sure to drop your presents off by December 20th at Sunday celebrations or between, 10 and 3 on Mondays and Wednesdays. That's when somebody will be here. There's a link to the full directions on the website as far as preparing your gifts and all the dates and everything. So in the hospitality room, we've got Janice Lape and her beautiful watercolors. Janice, where are you? There she is. 20, of course, everything's for sale. 20% of the proceeds do go back to Jubilee. So make some great Christmas presents, I'm just telling you. Let's see, the C's for Celebration for the Seasons of Lights are on the homepage of the website. You can contact Jay Joslin or me to schedule your gifts. We're almost full. I think we've got maybe a couple of slots left. So, think about what you might have to share that would add to our celebrations. Christmas Eve celebrations are going to be at 5 p.m. and at 9. We decided 10 was maybe just a little too late for most of us old folks. Yona is also holding the annual Calling of the Bears. It's a solstice ceremony at 7 p.m. on Tuesday the 21st. Let's see, there is a GoFundMe for Julie Parker. Julie heads up our arts team, and she has she had a stroke, I believe, several months ago, but she needs help with something. Her vision has suffered because of the stroke, and there's a medical device that she needs, and we've set up a GoFundMe page for her to help get what she needs. Let's see, Melody LeBaron, are you here? Okay, come on up and make your announcement.
Hi, my name is Melody LeBaron from the Racial Equity Team, and I would like to just let you know that we've been going through the pandemic. And if any of you would like to join the racial equity team, you have two options. And one would be just to be part of the team. We've got about 80 members. Many of them are not members of Jubilee. Many of them are members of color in our community. And so if you would like to join the team, just write your email, your name and email address down and hand it to me. And just put a number 1 so that I'll know you want to be part of the team. And I send an email once or twice a month to connect people to people and resources in the community. Your number 2 option would be if you want to be part of our racial equity book discussion group. We meet once a month on Zoom, and next week we will be reading and discussing the first 2 chapters in the book State of Emergency, How We Win in the Country We Built by Tamika Mallory. And this is an uplifting read. And we have a woman of color in the community who's a leader of color, Alice Dixon, who facilitates our discussions. So if you would like to be part of the discussion group, you might get 2 or 3 emails a month about that, and just put the number 2 on the piece of paper you hand me. So you could do 1 and 2 or just one or the other. Thank you so much for being involved in helping to make Asheville more equitable.
Good morning, everybody. It's good to see you. I had an idea a while back, just a couple weeks ago, that I thought would be really fun, and that is to, for those of you who think you don't have a musical bone in your body, or you know somebody that thinks they don't have a musical bone in their body, or they do and they just haven't made the most of it yet, I have a way to help people connect through the piano to creativity and to musicality and to expressivity and doing stuff like getting up and making announcements. And it doesn't have to be that. But what I thought of is that I could offer that to people who want to do that for themselves or for a gift this Christmas season. And half of that money would go to Jubilee. And so I'm just offering that. If you're interested in that, come up and see me. It's a $97 thing, and half of that money would go to Jubilee. So it'd be awesome to help support the cause.
Good morning, Jubilee. Hi, Diane. Call me by name, I have to respond, right? My name is Elizabeth Likus, and I am a longtime Jubilant. Been here about almost 22 years now. I'm a current member of the Board of Directors, and in my 3rd-year term, been a longtime Jubilee singer, was involved in the Nurture program. My kids grew up here. Just to give you some background, we have a lot of people come in and out giving announcements, but this is all the people that have been involved consistently. Was also co-leader with Ron Katz of the social justice team, and then with Vanita Allen. So I am heavily invested in this community, and today is going to be an invitation for you to be invested in whatever way you are called to be. So it is that time of year to think about our commitment to Jubilee. We are so excited about the direction that Jubilee is headed in 2022. Hopefully you've been hearing the announcements the last few weeks about all the things we've been doing in the last 6 months to vision and plan and discuss and share ideas. And now we've got a rockin' staff in place. The Jubilee Band is here, a very committed board of directors, and an awe-inspiring ministerial team, which is a new venture and pilot program. Let's just give it up for all that's happening. But what we're about is supporting our community partners more than ever before in this uncertain and difficult time. We are so proud, and I hope you are proud as a Jubilant, a member of this community, that we are givers. We are givers to this community. That is something worth noticing and applauding. In fact, it is, some would say, our main thing. So a couple of years ago, someone, might have been Howard himself, but someone announced that over the life of this generous community, we have given more than $2 million during COVID, during transitioning in Jubilee to fully online, to not being able to meet together, to having to put teams on hold and the nurture program on hold. Through all the hardship, the fluctuating numbers, we have continued to give. We give every quarter to aid families and children and hunger and homelessness, health care, and even our global reach. We have international sustaining communities that we support. Here's just a few of these just from the last year that we have still been able to give to. All Souls Counseling Center, the Hope Chest for breast cancer survivors, Haywood Street Congregation, Children First, Swannanoa Valley Christian Ministries, WNC Health Services, Loving Food Resources, Pisgah Legal Services, Mountain Housing Opportunities, Habitat for Humanity, Homeward Bound, Meals on Wheels, and the Jubilee House in Haiti. I don't know how many of you were aware that we support the Jubilee House in Haiti, and we also have a Jubilee House in Nicaragua. Bounty and Soul. The list goes on. We want this to continue. So to achieve our lofty goals, we need all of you, Jubilee. We need your help. Over the next few weeks, you will be hearing from several Jubilee members about why they give each year. We hope that you'll enjoy hearing these messages and reasons for financially supporting this awesome community of ours. And we want all of you, we want everyone to be excited about the ways that we engage and support this Jubilee community. So I was taught at a very early age that if you're going to do an announcement or a presentation, you have visual aids. So you probably noticed the pledge cards underneath your seat. Take a moment, familiarize yourself with them, just know that they're there. I'm going to walk you through this because this is really important. That's just one way to make your pledge to Jubilee. On the front side, you will see you can consider, take some time to think if how much you want to support Jubilee with your time, your presence, your energy, your financial gifts. But for right now, we also want you to put in your membership. There's a place that says, I just want to be involved. Just get me involved. I want to join a Jubilee team. I want to volunteer. The important thing is, as we are gathering our database and making sure we know who calls themselves Jubilants, that you put in your name and some contact information here, along with your pledge. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. You can just fill this out and put it in the baskets as they go around at the end of the service. You can put it in a basket that is near the doors. On the flip side, there is also a way to do this online. So I'm a visual learner. Sometimes you will hear this out loud, but I also brought slides, thanks to Michelle. This is on, right? Oh, this direction. Okay. See? Somewhere out there, this is going to work. So you can do it this way, the old-fashioned paper way, make your pledge, get in our database, or you can go to the Jubilee website. This is the Jubilee main website, jubileecommunity.org. And right here, there's lots of red arrows that say, pledge, give, make a pledge, get directions for how to make a pledge. So that's the first step. Once you see these red arrows and you click on one of those links, it brings you to a whole page on instructions on how to make a pledge, right? And I want to let you know there's two ways to really, two steps to this. One is just to say you're going to make a pledge, so we kind of have an idea of what's coming in. The other is actually to give the money, which is a different link. Yeah, you know, there's two parts to that. Yes, I'm in! And then, right, actions speak louder than type. Is that? So you put in your information. There's also links at the bottom of that page that you can make a pledge right then. You can make a one-time gift. You can give $5. Or you can decide, I'm going to pledge every month or every week. And you can put in your information, and it can automatically withdraw. And you don't have to worry about it all year. You don't have to scramble through your pockets like, do I have any money today to put in the plate? It's all there for you. So many ways are here to do this. So stay tuned the next month as we roll out our 2022 campaign kickoff. Once you fill out all this information, you don't want to miss out on all the ways to get involved. That was a lot. Thank you so much for being here, for showing up, and for giving some thought to how you want to be engaged in this community and how you want to give of your time and your talents and your money. Thank you for sticking with us through 2021. hold on, Jubilee. 2022 is going to be out of this world. Can I get an oh yeah?
Thank you, Elizabeth. One thing Warren wanted me to remind all of you is to put your phones on airplane mode or turn them off, because we do stream. We need to save our bandwidth. Okay. Jim Taylor in the house. Woo! I love this guy. Yes.
Good morning. Has anybody else been watching Get Back, the Beatles documentary? I really feel like I need to light a cigarette here, but if you've been watching Get Back, you'll know that there was a great deal of nicotine behind all that artistry. So this is a song that I wrote about 20 years ago after a conversation with a friend who said that everything was going great in his life and he didn't trust it. And was like, things are so good. I don't know, this woman, she seems to really kind of be into me. And well, everything always crashes and burns. I started thinking about how sometimes joy can be frightening. So this is a song called A Little Stream of Joy. And I last played it live about 15 years ago, so we'll see how this goes. There's a little stream of joy deep inside of me, and it might become a river if I could set it free. But every time I feel a ripple, I just can't let it be. This little stream of joy inside of me. Well, there's a little stream of joy that's hidden in my heart, and it might flow on forever if I'd ever let it start. But I'm afraid it just might jump the banks and tear all my dams apart. There's a little stream of joy down in my heart. But it could run if I let it run, sparkling like water in the sun. It could run if I let it run, let it roll along until its journey's done. There's a little stream of joy, it's way down in my soul. It's a current I could follow if I'd let it take a hold. But even in the heat of anger, it's running clear and cold. This little stream of joy down in my soul. Let it run, let it run, let it sparkle like water in the sun. Let it run, let it run, let it roll along until its journey's done. Let it run, let it run, let it sparkle like water in the sun. Let it run, let it roll along until its journey's done. Let it roll along until my journey's done.
Jim, you're a heck of a stream of joy, I'll tell you that.
Okay, yeah, this thing is on. I'm on. Hello. Jubilance, I missed you last week. I was in New England visiting a friend. You know, anytime you go away, you come back to about 1,000 emails, even if you go away for a day. Lots of emails. You know, especially if you're a Jubilee lately, lots of emails. Among those tender and sweet emails that do come from Jubilee is the prayer chain. We have a heck of a powerful prayer chain, and it works wonders. And one of the things that I've learned over my time at Jubilee is that people just want to know what to do sometimes. We just want specific directions. Sometimes that specific direction is, I want to pray. When I have nothing else that I can contribute, let me at least pray. And there's always something to pray for. And that, my friends, is a joy. Even if that prayer is for something incredibly painful, something incredibly sad. Now, across that prayer chain administered by Aaliyah Schick, if you're watching, and if not, you're psychically hearing this. She's good. There are joys that come across that prayer chain. There are celebrations that come across that prayer chain. There's so many reasons to pray. I mean, it's right there. If the only prayer you ever pray is thank you, that will suffice. There's a lot of thank you prayers that come across. But sometimes we just need that little bit of direction. Give me something to do. Pray. So now is when we pray. Pure and simple. The Jubilants, I invite you to come up and grab some bowls and bells. Join each other at the western wall, light some candles. If you're online, enter your prayer into the chat. And also do say a prayer for Yona today. He is feeling a little under the weather, so he would love a prayer. Holy One, hear our prayers. Mother Earth, Father Sky, receive our prayers. For all our ancestors, for all that come after us, hear our prayers. Amen. And oh yeah. And after we sing, I invite you to celebrate by sharing God's peace with one another. A joyful prayer.
Still, 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 one can hear the falling snow. For all is hushed, the world is sleeping, only silence vigil keeping. Still, still, still.
the mic. Am I on? All right. Sorry, I dropped the mic. Oh, maybe I'm not. Mic drop. I have heard that guess what? We didn't set up enough chairs this Sunday. What an awesome problem to have. But some of the folks on this side were saying that there are some singles over here. So if you're seated over here and would like to come on in, raise your hand if you've got a seat next to you, and we will fill you in. So come on in if you'd like to. All right. Hear these ancient words. From Isaiah. The desert and the parched land will be glad. The wilderness will rejoice and blossom. Like the crocus, it will burst into bloom. It will rejoice greatly and shout for joy. Strengthen the feeble hands. Steady the knees that give way. Say to those with fearful hearts, be strong. Do not fear. Your God will come. And will the eyes of the blind be opened, and the ears of the deaf unstopped, and the lame leap like a deer, and the tongue of the dumb shout for joy? Water will gush forth from the wilderness, and the streams in the desert. That's good. And from the Buddha Metta Sutta, may all things be well. May all things be happy. And finally, from the book of Luke. In the sixth month, God sent the angel Gabriel to Nazareth, a town in Galilee, to a virgin pledged to be married to a man named Joseph, a descendant of David. The virgin's name was Mary. The angel went to her and said, "Greetings, you who are highly favored. The Lord is with you." And Mary was greatly troubled. She was greatly troubled at his words and wondered what kind of greeting this might be. But the angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God. You will be with child and give birth to a son, and you will give him the name Jesus. He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David and will reign over the house of Jacob forever. His kingdom will never end." "How can this be?" Mary asked the angel, "since I'm a virgin." And the angel answered, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you. The power of the Most High will overshadow you. So the Holy One will be born, will be called the Son of God. Even Elizabeth, your relative, is going to have a child in her age. And she who was said to be barren is in her 6th month. For nothing is impossible with God." This is ancient wisdom and holy word.
Thanks be to all that is wise and holy.
All creation is wisdom and holy word.
All creation sings of wisdom and God. Hallelujah.
And that too. And now we didn't talk about what kind of introduction to offer for you, David. Hi, David. Except to say, if you guys don't know that you're in for a treat, you're in for a real treat. We're so happy to have him today. So, David LaMotte, thank you.
It is good to consider myself a friend of this community. Thank you for the warm welcome. If you will pray with me, I'll be grateful. Creator of all that is and all that has been and all that will be, we don't pray that you will be with us this morning because you're already with us. We pray that we'll notice. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts blow right past acceptable and bring you joy. All right, y'all, come back with me to the late 80s. It might be Southern California. There's a rally against apartheid. And there's music playing, and there's speakers speaking, and then they get to the main thing, and Desmond Tutu takes the stage. And he speaks really painful things to the people assembled. He tells stories about people that he knows and loves personally, not abstractions, but his family and friends who are being marginalized and tortured and systematically oppressed. And he asked people to join him in the work to dismantle this system. And everybody is convicted. At least I can't imagine being there and not being convicted. And then, as Paul Loeb wrote in his awesome book, Soul of a Citizen, Paul was standing backstage, and Desmond Tutu came off the stage, and as he was coming off the stage, the reggae band kicked in and started laying down this solid groove. And Desmond Tutu danced with joy down the back steps of the stage. If you ever had the great privilege of being around Desmond Tutu, which I'm so grateful to say I've had twice in my life, this man exudes joy, right? And we have this cultural narrative that to be that joyful means you must not be in touch with reality, because reality is hard. And the hardness of reality strips us of our joy. Does that make any sense in the empirical evidence in the face of Desmond Tutu's life? Are you telling me that Desmond Tutu is joyful because he doesn't understand how cruel the world can be? Is that the narrative? That doesn't make any sense to me at all, logically. That just doesn't hold up. We're going to have some other voices with us this morning, apparently. It's all right. The spirits are trying to break through. In this tradition that we lit candles for this morning, the tradition that I inhabit, this is the third Sunday in Advent. It's one that's dedicated to joy. And we could be forgiven for saying, seriously? Like, joy? I mean, look at the world around us. Political strife, there's entrenched systems of oppression, of racism. We don't have to go back 48 hours to see the headlines dripping with pain from Arkansas and Kentucky and the 4 other states that were ravaged by storms in the last few days. There's bigotry that's being amplified and seems to be moving to the mainstream from the margins where it has always lived. There are wars being fought, and there are rumors of wars at the brink of eruption. Not to mention pandemics, viral and social, that are wreaking havoc on many lives. I've lost 6 people to COVID myself that I care about. I don't know how this has been for you, but it hits me pretty hard. And I have other relationships that are strained by trying to figure out how we're going to do this work together of keeping each other safe and being community in the midst of this trying time. There is so much mourning to do. Pretty much everybody I know is exhausted, emotionally and physically. How could we possibly have room for joy? And is it even appropriate? Is it okay to be joyful in the face of all that? Now, I'm keenly aware that I'm speaking these words to Jubilee, which is a community that has always had a gift for joy, in my experience. And there are probably people out there, I think this is a criticism that's leveled at religious folk, spiritual folk in general, and probably gets pointed at Jubilee from time to time to say, hey, could y'all dial it back just a little bit? Things are kind of hard, right? Could y'all just dial it back? Sometimes, some people look at people who are folks of faith and say, you prefer to live in a dream world where everything is okay, while I'm out here struggling in the real world where things are really, really hard. As many of us set out nativity scenes in this season and decorate with lights and candles, it might be hard for some folks to see the relevance of revelry. And yet, when I look at this story that we just heard a little piece of this morning, this one that we're celebrating this time of year, many of us are celebrating, the one about the carpenter and his pregnant teenage wife, right, who are broke and traveling because they have to travel, not to see relatives, but because the government has said you have to go back there. We're doing this census, and you have to do what we tell you to, or you're going to be in big trouble. So they're traveling because of oppressive government decrees, without the resources to travel safely, and having to go home by another way because their lives are actively being threatened by powerful people. They are second-class citizens in an occupied territory. Things are hard. This is not a story that ignores how hard life is. That's not how this story goes. I treasure the fact, by the way, that Jubilee is a theologically broad community. And I'm not trying to convert anybody to my particular perspective this morning, but I think it's worth holding up this particular story to look at what it is saying and what it isn't saying. It's not saying everything's cool, just be cool. That's not what it's saying. And into this story shows up an angel, and the angel says something utterly ridiculous. Actually says several things that are utterly ridiculous, but one of the first things is, be not afraid. I know you were sleeping here a minute ago in a room by yourself, and I know I'm kind of shiny. But don't sweat it, everything's cool. Just, it's fine, right? Don't be afraid. These words have always really rankled me when they show up in Scripture, and they show up in Scripture quite a lot. Pretty much anytime an angel shows up, it starts with, be not afraid. I'm like, what? I wonder how many other stories there are that would have been in the Bible, except that that was kind of the end of it. They said, be not afraid, and they're like, I'm going under the covers, and I'm going to stay here till you go away. That would be a natural response and a reasonable one. And it flies in the face of what I've always taught my son. You know, there are things that parents tell their kids that are so well worn that you say the first few words and the kid doesn't have to hear the rest of it. They can repeat it back to you. I have one of those with my kid, Mason. And if I say to him, buddy, courage isn't the absence of fear, he'll say back to me, yeah, I know. Courage is proceeding in the presence of fear because something's important enough to do anyway. Right? You literally can't be courageous if you're not afraid. You don't need courage if you're not afraid. Courage is doing something because you are afraid and it's important enough to do it anyway. That's what courage means. That's what my life taught me. That's what I've taught my kid. So don't tell me to be not afraid. It's ridiculous. And feeling fear is not always a bad thing. Sometimes fear is a good marker that there's something over here that might hurt you and you should go that way instead, right? There's a place for fear. But my friend Gareth Higgins wrote this wonderful book last year. It came out, it's called How Not to Be Afraid. And I did an event with him where he was introducing people to his book, and he said, actually, that's not the best title for the book. I should have called it How to Be Afraid Better. And I thought, boy, that's really good. Yeah, right, that really makes sense. And I think it was in a conversation with Gareth that he said to me, in terms of this be not afraid thing that keeps happening in the Bible, that he said to me, yeah, I think the key word there is be. It's not saying don't feel afraid. Maybe it's not saying don't feel afraid. Maybe it's saying don't let your fear occupy you. Don't let your fear drive. Don't let it have the center place in your life. Because generally, when there have been big decisions for me, and I have made them from a place of fear, I have made them poorly. And some of the most beautiful and important things I've done in my whole life, I was desperately afraid to do. Including getting married and becoming a dad and going to jail, protesting things, I was very much afraid. And I'm really glad I did all three of those things. So, what if the injunction is not about how we feel, but about what we do, what we choose? Don't be your fear. So here we have this young couple in a world of hurt, with scary glowing people showing up and telling them to do impossible things. And this is where the light breaks through into the world. With tidings of comfort and joy. Tidings of comfort and joy in the hardest of times. Joy and hope and faith and love and courage, these things exist and persist even in the hardest of times. Watch with me, y'all. Watch the headlines. Read the stories for the next few days as we begin to read stories of kindness and compassion and self-sacrifice that emerge from places like Mayfield, Kentucky. I read last night before I went to bed an article in the Washington Post that included someone talking about the fact that in the candle factory where so many people were lost in Mayfield, Kentucky, there were inmates working there when this happened. And that the moment this tragedy occurred and people began to come to their senses, the inmates, someone who was not an inmate, noted that the inmates could have taken that moment to leave. And instead, they turned right to the rubble and started digging people out. This is a story of what it is to be human. This is all of us. And I know these stories are going to emerge in the next couple of days. I'm going out on a limb here and saying, watch these stories with me, because they always emerge, because we are human. Our interconnectedness and our compassion are woven into our DNA. Yes, the DNA can be damaged. We can do unspeakably cruel things. But this story is always the story of love. Love wins. As Bishop Barber is fond of saying, if love hasn't won, then the story isn't over yet. So where does this leave us and our joy and our discomfort with joy? Here in a time of so much tragedy, is there room for it? And is it appropriate? In this time of profound technological interconnectedness, we now have access to the worst news from every corner of the globe, no farther than our pockets. Right? It's right there. And I can't help but believe that the human heart is actually built to hold about a village's worth of grief. Sometimes it feels like it's just too much. But if it is inappropriate to feel joy when there are terrible things happening in the world, then what moment in all of human history has been okay to feel joy? There hasn't been one, right? We've always been a mixed bag. It's always been hard to be alive, and it always will be. And it's also beautiful to be alive, and it always will be. In every single moment, all of it is wrapped up there together. So the rule cannot be, I can't feel joy if something bad is happening. If so, we banish all joy from the world. And I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think that's the way forward. That simply can't be the rule. And all of that sort of assumes that joy is this luxury, that it's kind of dessert, that it's a little gift that we partake of for our own pleasure. And I want to recast that a little bit, because I think, honestly, joy is the fuel we need to run on to love the world. We need to sustain ourselves with this joy. So it is a gift to the people around you to allow yourself to feel joy. It's not just for you. Despair leads inevitably to inaction, and inaction leads most of the time to self-fulfilling prophecy, to things turning out just as bad as we thought they might. But joy can give us a little spark of energy to try again. And when we try again, sometimes things go better. Not every time, but sometimes, when we show up and try again. Now, I do need to make really sure that nobody's misunderstanding me here, because there is some toxic theology out there in the world that says, look, if your faith is strong enough and you're praying hard, you should not have to feel sad. You should just be joyful all the time. No, I call bull on that one. No, sir. No, ma'am. No. In order to be authentic, we need to feel all that we feel. And sometimes we need to mourn, and we need to grieve, and we need to do that authentically and honestly in order to get through it together, and in order to let each other know that we are here as community. So don't misunderstand me in that way, please. But when joy comes, friends, it's okay to welcome it. In fact, it's good to welcome it. In fact, it's good to seek it out. I want to ask you when the last time was that you felt really, really joyful. Can you summon that? When did you feel really, really joyful? Maybe it was a minute ago singing and dancing Caribbean music at Jubilee. Maybe that didn't get to you. Maybe things are too hard this morning. But when's the last time you really felt that joy? Can you put that on your calendar? Put some more of that on your calendar. Who were you with? What were you doing? Go and seek that out, friends. You deserve it. You are a beloved child of God. And it allows you to be a gift to the world around you. Perhaps this occasional dose of joy can be the fuel that gets us through the marathon of a challenging time. Perhaps we can be fed by joy for the work of hope and reconciliation. And I can't help but notice that there's a natural rhythm to human emotion. People laugh at funerals, right? We tell some funny stories at funerals. And it's good that we do. It's honoring to the people who we've lost. My friend Beth Wood, I want to commend to you a song to look up later. I won't play it for you this morning, but my friend Beth Wood wrote a wonderful song called Funeral Day. And I'll just read you a few of the lyrics. It says, "We were laughing that funeral day. I guess it might seem strange that we'd behave that way. It was just our bodies craving levity. My grief, a heavy blanket weighing down on me. So we laughed until the sun went down, trading stories, passing a bottle around, recalling all the good times we had. It didn't seem so sad. It all started at the parlor doors. Cousin Henry's son tripped on an extension cord. We busted out. What else could we do? And I knew that you were up there cracking up too. So we laughed until the preacher came in, then we settled down and we listened to him staring at your photograph. It didn't seem so sad. Well, we got some dirty looks from the old blue-haired crowd, but with all due respect, I think we did you proud by laughing out loud. Some days I miss you. Years have gone by. There's a tiny hole in my heart, but I can't bear to cry. You brought me joy, joy to everyone, and it's just a simple story. We're here and then we're gone. So I laugh remembering that day, how we carried on and how it washed our tears away. I'm smiling and I'm looking back, and it doesn't seem so sad. May we lift each other's burdens like that. Friends, to be joyful is not to deny that life is hard. In this moment and nearly every moment, it is to acknowledge that life is simultaneously also beautiful, that love exists and persists in the face of all of it, that while all life inevitably ends, death also inevitably becomes life again. Last year's compost turns to this year's flowers and vegetables. This is the fundamental story of life. Howard Zinn said it beautifully, the historian Howard Zinn. He said this: "To be hopeful in bad times is not being foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of competition and cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, and kindness. The future is an infinite succession of presents, and to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is bad around us, is itself a marvelous victory. Every moment holds reasons to mourn and reasons to celebrate. Let's do both. Every heart holds a flame. Let's shine. And every night is a night divine. So let's feel the joy of being here in the arms of community, of living another day, of the possibility for new life and new healing, of new love and new reconciliation, of the sun rising on the frosty mountains once more. Love wins, and if love hasn't won, the story isn't over yet. Let's let ourselves feel joy when it comes. Let's seek it out. Let's spread it, because viruses are not the only thing that are transmissible. I'll leave you with 4 extremely familiar words. Joy to the world.
These gifts of worldly will be turned into the Spirit, and we dedicate them to you, God. Amen. All right. And we are going to have David sing us. I think we're ready for you. Oh, we're not ready? We're heading straight forward. That was it. Okay. In that case, let's all hold hands in our comfort and send ourselves out into this week. Get in there. All right, I'm coming in. All right, repeat after me. Here we come, God. This week we're going to search out joy. In spite of all the troubles and hardship, we're going to search out joy. Because of all the troubles and the hardship, we're going to search out joy. And if joy comes knocking, for heaven's sake, we're gonna answer the dang door.
To the shepherd boy, do you hear what I hear? Sing to the sky, shepherd boy, do you
That